Welcome to the Teacher Talk podcast with me, Lauren Gonzalez, where I invite teachers from all over the district to chat with me about what got them into teaching, what strategies new teachers should try, and just generally learning more about them. Join me as we build our teacher community and create an open and honest discourse around the teaching profession. Let's talk. Hello, FMS families and staff. Welcome back to another Teacher Talk podcast. My name is Lauren Gonzalez. I'm the media specialist here at FMS, and I am here today with an awesome guest.
Hi, my name is Geraline Moses, and I am a teacher at Animas Elementary School, first grade teacher at Animas Elementary School.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of just wanted to ask you, what got you started in teaching? What's kind of been your journey?
So I really think that I've always wanted to be a teacher. I don't know. I remember like a long time ago when I was young, we always played school. I always had that. With my siblings, I'm always the one that was handing out the papers and get this done, do this,
and their desks,
right? We did. It wasn't so much a desk, but whatever we could put together. We had, and so some of my summers, like on not all summer long, but certain days, that's pretty much what we did was just kind of play school. And I always wanted to be in the front, talking and letting people know this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because when I after I graduated high school, I went to a 2-year college. Diné College is where I went to, but I did not go into education.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I was geared towards like business administration.
Oh, okay.
So, and I started doing that and ended up like halfway through, I'm like, this is not really what I want to do. I'm like, no. So I went and did office administration instead. So I got my associates in that. But then I started thinking, okay, I got done with that. I'm like, do I really want to sit behind a desk all day and, help people out? And then that's when I was like, hey, and I started looking through brochures for Arizona State University. And then that's when I was like, oh, I like this class. Sounds interesting. I did. So, and I ended up applying for it. Got into the teacher program there after I got to ASU, because at that point I was just like, I don't know what I want yet still. So I ended up just applying, got to school down there. But within that time, like within a year, I was like, I really have to decide what I want to do.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, and it really, everything kept pushing me back to education. Yeah. And I started looking at, yeah, exactly. And so I went and looked at the School of Education. I visited some of the professors there, and, I sat with an advisor, and they kind of went over like, okay, this is, you'll do this, you'll do that. And from there, it just went.
Yeah.
And I got my I got my elementary ed and indigenous education there.
Oh, cool.
And then I went back to get my master's, and I got early childhood education.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah. Was there something that kind of drew you to that age group more than in like secondary?
So when we did my practicum and so many different things, the program I was in, we went to various schools, and we spent, within like one semester, we went to like 8 different schools or something. And it was a variety. So we couldn't just pick like, okay, I'm going to do first grade here. I'm going to do first there. She told us that we had to have a variety of them.
Okay.
And within that, I think that's when I found out, I was like, okay, I like the lower grades more. More challenging, because it's like you're teaching them like pretty much from scratch. You're like doing everything from that. But there was just something about the younger grades that I really enjoyed. Totally. And then I did do like upper grades all the way up to 8th grade, because I'm certified up to 8th grade.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason, I just could not do like anything above like 3rd grade. I couldn't do anything above that. So I was just like, no, I think I'm good with the lower grades. So when I did decide to go back for my master's, that's why I chose early childhood education. So it's like from birth to 3rd grade is what I'd rather teach. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I always hear like, that like early education teachers are the heroes because that's a hard thing to build up that foundation.
It really is, because I started and I did all of that, but my practicum and everything, I even did like in a 3-year-old class, know, and it's like, what do? You still have to create lessons for them. You still have to do everything. And I was like, okay, that maybe not that age, so and that's when I finally found out. And when I came, before I found a teaching job, I went and subbed, because one of my advisors said, sub before you even go. Sub, and you'll really find a place where you will know it's like, this is the place I want to be at, because you'll go to different districts, different schools, different, because you'll find if you decide to be at that school, you're going to have to get along with the people that are there, or do the people come and help you, because as a sub, sometimes they just brush you off. You're like, oh, you're just a sub. You're just here for a day,
You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Or, and if for some reason, Animas just stood out to me, like it didn't matter what grade I was subbing for, whatever, like even like the title teacher or someone was able to help me. So, and I went back there several times. I went to all the schools here. I mean, it was hard for me to choose from Farmington District.
Yes.
I even tried Central Consolidated, and I tried out like on the reservation. It was just, for some reason, it was, Farmington just was a good fit for me. Yeah.
Nice.
It really was. Yeah. And it went down to, okay, Animas, that's where I okay, let's start here.
Yeah. And that's such a cool way to think about it, because I don't even usually think about it in those terms. It's like sub, so you can figure out what grade level basically.
Right.
But that's like a really interesting thing, is sub at different schools, so you could also see where your community is going to be.
Right, exactly.
Find the place that fits you.
Yes.
So that's a really good piece of advice. Speaking of advice, what's something that you've learned, along your journey that maybe you wish you knew when you first started, or something you would, tell teachers that are just starting out?
So that's one thing I would tell teachers.
Yeah.
I've had several student teachers that came through my classroom, and I've told them, I gave them that advice, like, don't just, I know like you just really want to start teaching, but make sure you find that place where you're going to call home, because, and it's just not just like you said, the grade level. Yeah. It's the community, everyone within that whole school, who can you, who do you work well with,
Yeah.
And that's was one main thing. And I think another thing is to really know that communication is key. I mean, and that's across the board, not just in the classroom, but with parents as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember, or I don't recall a class that I took in college, or, junior college or wherever, that told me this is how you deal with parents.
Yeah.
You kind of learn that as you go. So you always have to, no matter what, keep the parents in the loop. Yes. Which is everything. Yeah. Whether if their child is having a hard time, whether if it's a good day, just simple stuff. Yeah. Reminding parents, hey, you know what, your kids all did an awesome job. And that's that's the reason why I like the Remind app, because I can just message all my parents and say, hey, today was a good day. Remember, we're still working on subtraction. Yeah. Little bits of pieces of information, and that way the parents are like, oh, okay, this teacher really cares. And it's not like a conversation that having one-on-one every day with a parent, but it's just like making sure that communication is there, and not just in the classroom, but with your PLC, with your coworkers, anyone in the building, because if that's not there, then there's really nothing,
Yeah, it gets really confusing.
It really does.
Everybody.
For everyone, because it's like, oh, well, nobody told me that. Yeah. And that's just where the confusion starts. And it's just like making sure that you have that communication and really get to know your parents and your students, I think is just like, because you do, people really say, okay, that parent is difficult to deal with, and there's always that, but you really just have to be open from the get-go, with that parent, and say, okay, you really get to know them. That way, how to deal with them. And, that way you're not like, okay, taken by surprise and say, oh my gosh, this parent is a lot, you know? So because, and I think it's because I'm a parent myself. So maybe that's what helps too.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
but, I always tell, new teachers that, or even the student teachers that are in my class, I always just remind them, and be patient. It's okay to make a mistake. Yeah. Because we're as teachers, we're not perfect too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I know. I think
every single day you're learning something new. Yes. I mean, I tell my students that also. That's why we have an eraser. We're given that chance to learn and grow, and it's not going to happen overnight. You know?
So it's so vital to learn from those mistakes. And, and really, truly understand where, you can make improvements.
Right. And just, that's, it's not like every day you're going to make a mistake and say, okay, and brush it off. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's just
but
like,
now
now you know, and you learn from it. And you're like, okay, now I can tweak it this way. I can change it this way, whatever.
Yeah. I think it's so cool to be so heavily involved with the parents too, because the education process doesn't stop beyond our school doors. Right. I mean, they're going to continue to hopefully support whatever they get in the home. And, if they need help with homework or whatever, it's like they kind of know, I better brush up on my on my math skills because I'm going to need to help my kid.
Yes.
But I think that's just so important.
Because you find out that some parents are like, okay, well, I didn't learn it that way when I was in school.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is forever changing. So all they have to do is reach out to the teacher and say, hey, you know what? How are you guys teaching it? Give me something, And
so
that's why
helpful.
I said communication is just key everywhere.
Totally, yeah.
All the way around.
Just don't confuse the kids by, using that old school.
And I've had kids in the past that have told me that. My dad didn't he was doing it this way. Yeah. And it's just like,
we got to teach dad.
Right?
We got to get him up to speed on this.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. You were nominated for Teacher of the Year this year. How did that feel? Getting nominated for that?
Oh my goodness. It was so surprising,
Yeah.
And sometimes as a teacher, you don't think of stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're, because you're busy in the classroom, and then to get nominated like that, it's just like, whoa, oh my goodness. I forgot I was teaching,
Yeah.
Oh, those type of things are out there, and it was, I was very happy, it made me happy as a teacher, I'm like, oh my goodness. And this is my 11th year teaching.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's something that I enjoy doing, and I said, I am just happy to be nominated, because, that's a huge accomplishment,
It means that people are really like appreciative of what you do.
Right. It's like sometimes you're like, okay, the only ones that ever see me doing my job is the students and first graders at that, and the last couple of years were kindergarten students. So sometimes, you hear them say, oh, Miss Moses, good job, Miss Moses. I love you, but it's, so cool. it's rewarding to hear that from your students, but also rewarding to hear that I was nominated.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's really nice to be recognized outside of just like the everyday.
Yes.
But that's so cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So this one's a little different. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about like what you like to do outside of work, kind of what your hobbies, interests are?
Okay. So, oh my goodness. I love to, like during the summer, sometimes I love to binge watch whatever show is on. I don't have a favorite now.
Okay.
But that just kind of gives me the time to just like, I don't have anything that I need to accomplish. I'm just going to sit here and relax, and just take a break, So, and usually something is on. So I like to do that. I like to read a book. Anything with Sherman Alexie is what I've always kept up with. So lately my daughter's been keeping me busy with the sports that she's in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she's keeping me busy. I'm always on the road with her and everything. This past weekend we were just in Aneth. And then from there we take a detour and go drive to Moab. So
there you go.
Yeah. So just little drives like that.
What sport is she?
She's in cross country right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's in cross country. And so, but she keeps me busy. After cross country, it's like, okay, basketball practice. So she, on top of, me tutoring, and it's like, so we don't get home until late, but that's okay.
Busy days. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm good with that. So, other than that is like, spending time with family, it's just my dad and my brothers and sisters now. So it's just very okay. Make that time to spend time with them to do something and just have dinner or something.
Yeah. No, I know. I think that's like crucial is developing that like family time, and I need to get better at that. I'm sure that my mom would agree that I need to come and visit more. So
right. And then I do have a grandbaby, so he's a year old, so he keeps me busy too. So
that's awesome.
So that's pretty exciting.
That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out and talking with me. I appreciate it. And thank you all of the people listening for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Loving the podcast so far and want to hear more? Find the full episode at farmingtonschools.us/podcast.